guys. Welcome to Mixed by Genetics, my very new channel on mixed content. You've probably seen me and Victoria Rain here from across the pond on her channel, as well as mine, Approach the Nerd, where we talked about a lot of mixed erasure, mixed identity issues that we face as mixed women. This is a new dedicated channel for mixed content. So I wanted to separate it so we have more of a more focused view on this channel as opposed to my nerd channel. So there we go. If you have not subscribed to Victoria Rain, her link is below. She does amazing vlogs, mixed content, as well as she is doing a Thai language kind of update in interviews with different people that speak Thai or, just basically Thai content, which I think is very, very cool. And that's something you normally see on YouTube, especially from the UK. So very, very excited. So if you're into that, which why would you not be, make sure to like and subscribe to her channel. Today, we have two things we're going to talk about. We're going to watch a YouTuber. Basically, this person decided to make a video about her struggle as a mixed person and her acceptance, I guess, of accepting the fact that she is now completely Black. I'm not going to say anything until we actually look at this video, but yeah. And her name is Gia Goodrich, or Goodrich. I butcher last names, but the video is called "For All My Multiracial and Biracial Family, Where Do We Fit?" and Black Lives Matter. So all of these things in the title are not a problem. I think what's going to be kind of a problem for us is some of the things she says is pertaining to, are directed really to people like us. But we will get into that right now, and then we'll start with Victoria.
And I realized that all through my life, I've been self-sabotaging because there was always a part of me that hated a part of me. And that was running from a part of me. And I'm trying now to change that. And to own that. And I really hope that one day I can do enough work where I can be proud of that part of me, that I can be proud to be Black. But today the best I can do is to accept it, because I'm very new in this journey. And I think that's when they talk about privilege of mixed kids, I think that's what they're talking about, that I could have gone 36 years without having to look at a lot of this stuff. Like, yes, it was always there, but I could bury it and survive and function in the world. And the microaggressions and things like that, they weren't obvious. And that's what they mean. Like, I've experienced a lot of privilege in that I'm now just dealing with it. And I'm sorry. I'm sorry to all the people that I've hurt unintentionally because of my own internalized racism, and I'm sorry I'm sorry because I have these ancestors that must have just been shaking their heads the whole time. But I'm doing my best and I'm trying, and I would encourage all of you mixed kids, if you can, because I understand that a year ago, if somebody had told me you're Black, I would have said, don't talk to me, you don't know me, you don't know my story, you don't get to tell me who I am. And so I get that you need to honor where you're at in your journey, but if you can, start to imagine yourself in that space under the Black umbrella. There's power in that. And there's relief in that, in stopping the fight and knowing that, like, yes, I am mixed, and yes, I honor all the parts of me. And part of that is this complicated history, because I have probably descendants of people who tried to own other people, and I have also a part of me, I'm a descendant of people who were tortured and kidnapped for hundreds of years by those people. And it is a tough experience, but I think there's something really beautiful in actually feeling like there's a space. Because I've never felt like there was a space for me. And maybe there's a space for us that's under this Black umbrella.
All right, I'm going to stop it right there. Victoria.
There's a lot to unpack here.
I'm going to let you whip out that suitcase and start unpacking. I just want to know, have you learned to be Black?
Not yet. Maybe I'm just not far enough on that journey. You know, I've not got to her place of acceptance in terms of the Black umbrella, but maybe in the future I will have reached that level, but not right now.
Why can't we have a rainbow umbrella? I mean, I'm queer though, so I don't know that. You know, she had it coming out. I had it coming out, so maybe that's. I don't know. I don't know why we need umbrellas, but that's fine. It's not raining, but it's fine. All right, so Victoria, we've heard a lot. We've heard a lot, and as mixed women, I know you will agree when I say that the struggle has always been mixed people in general. The struggle has been real for us. We have to fight for our identity all of the time. So when another mixed person makes basically an apology video for saying they are mixed. Now, forget her internalized racism. That's something that's her. That's on her. That is her struggle, her journey, not all mixed people's journey. But yeah, I want to hear your thoughts because I know you have a lot, and then I'll just kind of weigh in when you're done. So whip out the Victoria Rain suitcase and let's go.
So I think the first thing I wanted to sort of touch on, and I think this is true for not just her, but for other mixed people, is the idea that Blackness is an umbrella. And yes, to an extent, Blackness can be an umbrella. However, by saying you as a mixed person fall under that umbrella, you're diluting it. You're changing what it means to be Black and what it means to look Black. And you are basically causing the problems that we get told that we're creating in terms of colorism, in terms of light skins taking the place of dark skinned women in shows and in films. Because by saying that, for example, me and you, we're both different shades, but saying we're both Black, then when it comes to representation, they're like, okay, well, you can play this Black woman in this film and I can play this Black woman in this film, and there you go, you're Black, so what's the problem? But what the problem is that then when Black children are looking at that, they're like, hang on, but I don't look like that. Why don't I look like that? And it creates this problem that it feels like we've been fighting for a while and we get the blame for when it's not us doing it. So that was like my first annoyance. And the other thing that I've noticed, and I've noticed this on my video as well, people commenting this idea of I'm mixed Black. But what does that even mean? Because, well, can I say I'm mixed white? Because I am no more white than I am Black. So therefore, it has the same sort of weight, but it sounds weird. You know, you don't really hear people saying, for example, if someone was, let's say they're white, you don't hear them say, oh, I'm white, and then specifying even further. They just kind of say they're white or they say they're Black. So I don't understand this, I'm mixed Black, I'm mixed. It doesn't really make sense to me. I feel like if you're mixed, you're just mixed. You don't need to be doing ancestry.com. We don't really need to be knowing the breakdown. And I feel, again, it's kind of a way to have a foot in two camps. And I think one thing I did notice in the way she was addressing her point was that the idea that she's claiming Black because, change needs to happen and there's power in being Black. And I agree, change does need to happen and there is power in being Black. However, you can still fight for change without saying you are that thing or you are whatever that the thing that you're fighting for is. And it kind of felt like she was on the identity crisis we always talk about as a mixed race person, and kind of just went with the most convenient answer in terms of, well, I can say I'm Black and no one's going to question it. Whereas when you say you're mixed race, people question it. They question it in terms of, no, but you're Black, or, but you don't look this way, or, but if slavery has happened, you would be with the Black people. And it's like, okay, but we're talking about 2022 now. And it's okay to say you're mixed race. So yeah, those are some of the comments just off the top of my head. I feel like I was going on a monologue there.
No, I mean, that's what the suitcase is for. No, I agree with everything you said. It's so problematic as a mixed person because she can say, I'm choosing to be Black. And this is what I'm doing. And no one's really going to say anything. She's still mixed. But what she fails to understand is just because she says she's Black, and there are going to be some Black people that are going to say yes, because, we go by this archaic, one drop rule, you are Black. You're still going to run into opposition because look at Zendaya. When Zendaya won an Emmy, she was the youngest Black actress to win. I think it was for her show Euphoria. Mm-hmm. Twitter was divided because they were like, she's not Black, she's mixed. Or they say biracial here sometimes. And like a lot of people that were saying it were Black. And so there was a lot of infighting on Twitter between Black people trying to figure out what to assign her. And I'm like, this is what we go through. If I basically ran around in my day-to-day life saying that I was Black, I would be canceled. Mm-hmm. And that is 100% true. And you look at Hollywood right now. Every time a biracial is cast as somebody who is dark-skinned Black, it's colorism.
Yeah.
But in reverse, it's not. And what I mean by that, I don't mean a Black person's cast as a white person. We're not talking about, when they in the comics, when they actually make characters POCs. That's not what I'm talking about, like comic book movies. I mean, look at Angela Bassett. She played Rosa Parks, who is historically a light-skinned Black woman. No one said anything.
Yeah.
But when Zoe Saldana played Nina Simone, she had to make an apology video. She had to apologize for her light-skinned Blackness, not even mixed, taking on this role. So imagine when you are mixed. And, the movie that we just saw on Netflix with Idris, literally, Idris and Regina King. I'll think of the name of the movie, but because it always goes out of my head. The Harder They Fall. Thank you. Everybody got on Twitter, Instagram. They were making YouTube videos about the biracial or mixed actress who was cast as Stagecoach Mary because she was light skinned, and historically Stagecoach Mary is very dark skinned, and she was curvy. That's what we're going to call her. She was curvy, and obviously this actress was not. But they failed to get in their feelings about the fact that almost all of the cowboys, there were a few that weren't, but almost every cowboy, especially Cherokee Bill, who had Cherokee in the name, they were part Indigenous and part Black. But they cast all Black actors. Nobody said anything, even when you saw the pictures of these men, and a lot of them were white passing. So she is very confusing for me, because some of the things that she said, some points that she made, she said, I feel like we're going to be welcomed under this Black umbrella. I feel like we have a home. But the truth of the matter is, it's not true. It's not. Now, nobody's telling you not to love your Blackness. I love my Blackness. I don't have this internalized issue or racism that basically she's gone through. I have never, if you followed my Approach to Nerd channel, if you know me in real life, from whenever you met me as a child, I'm in my 40s now, you know that there's never been a moment in time where I have not claimed my Blackness. But I also claim my Indigenousness and my Scottishness. Those are words. So, and I don't feel like accepting who I am, everything that makes me who I am, hence the title of this YouTube channel, Mixed by Genetics, makes me have internalized racism. It just means that I'm smart on how genetics works. It's what it is. Without any of these, if one of these elements were missing, I wouldn't be here.
Yeah, exactly.
So I don't understand where she's coming from. And honestly, I try not to put other YouTubers or other people in general down, but this was a video vlog she could have made for herself. She did not need to make this, for the public to view and judge. She did not need to cry on camera. She did not need to call out other mixed people and mixed families, because your journey is your journey. Don't ask or say things like, I don't know where you are on this journey towards the Black umbrella. That's what I'm getting out of this. When really this is only you. You're the one that is struggling with being part Black, not us. Do not put us under that umbrella. So that's the umbrella that you need to leave us, far from. Not the Black umbrella that you need to stay in your lane umbrella is what I'm saying. I would never, as a mixed person, ever think in my mind to call out another mixed person or call out other mixed families, interracial families, and tell them what they should assign themselves. Because honestly, there is entitlement in that. That's the entitlement.
Yeah, 100% agree. Like in some of my videos, because obviously I've made a few videos about identity crisis, about mixed race not being black. And the one thing I always make very clear is these are my opinions and my journey. And I always say I would never tell a mixed race person that they have to say they're mixed race. I mean, I would always advise it, but at the end of the day, that's their decision to make. And so I definitely agree that I don't like being told what to identify as. You can say, I think you should do this, or maybe you could consider it. But the idea that me saying I'm mixed and not black, or mixed black, is me not having found myself yet, is quite insulting to my own intelligence and insulting to my journey, my life, and how I view myself. And there was just one thing that I did really want to discuss before I forget it. And it's this idea that, and it's not just her, I've seen this on TikTok, on Instagram, all different platforms, but this idea that if you are white or you are part white, then your ancestors must have been slave owners, and how your ancestors, like she said, like her ancestors must have been looking and shaking their head and all of that. And for me, that's a bit questionable, because personally, my ancestors were not slave owners. People seem to think that all white people were slave owners. It didn't work like that. It was like the super rich of the times that could afford to go and get a boat and sail across the world. It wasn't your regular Joe who's just living in the streets, or like not living in the streets, sorry, walking down the street and things like that. So that, again, I'm like, you don't, unless you can definitely say and trace back your ancestor to a slave owner, you don't know. Your ancestor could have come over working on a boat. It could be anything. It could be any reason they got to America. So that's one thing that I'm always a bit like, it's a bit sweeping and wild for me.
Well, my mother's British, or was British. She's passed. But yeah, my mother was born and raised in Scotland. So the likelihood of her owning slaves in Scotland when she was the first person in her family to ever come to the States, very slim. Not saying, no one is downplaying racism. Nobody is downplaying slavery, trauma, whatever. BLM is important. Do I think that there are extremities in BLM? Yes, there's cancel culture all over the place, not just in BLM, but all over the place. I mean, we could be canceled just for making this video. It is what it is. I mean, that's the society that, especially in the States, we live in. But I agree with you. The whole thing about being mixed black, I don't understand. Like, I don't understand what that means. How are you mixed and black? Because I thought that like it encompassed all of it. Like, you can't be like, oh, I'm white and black. No, you're mixed. So it's like you whatever your other, ethnicity is, it's like that has to be mixed. And then it can't just be white or whatever that is, whatever the non-minority, I guess, is. So French, Irish, whatever. It has to be mixed and then add on the minority. Is that how it goes? I am so confused on that. This must be
new rules that I missed the memo on this one, so I don't know.
I'm so confused. I don't understand that at all, because the labels are getting out of control, guys. I'm just letting you know that right now. And again, I'm old. I'm 45. I don't know anything about what's happening with the youngsters today. I go to my 25-year-old. She just laughs at me, so I just move on. But I don't understand how you can be mixed and then add on another ethnicity, because what is the other mixed part then if it's not with that minority or that POC? In your genetics. I don't understand that. So I'm never going to say that, guys, because I think that is really weird. And I don't know who came up with that. And if another mixed person came up with that, maybe they need to sit back and really think about what they just caused, because that is really weird. And now I know, okay, so going back to her, something else that bothered me, which we talked about this on one of our I think in one of our first videos, where we talked about the show, The Bold Type, a show that we both watched. But we're a little bit in our feelings about the character Kat in the episode Rose-Colored Glasses. How she came off as, she originally was like, I'm biracial, I'm mixed. And then we had one of our two token Black characters, because that's how it is in this show, Oliver and Alex, where Alex had the assignment of educating Kat on her internal racism because she wasn't calling herself Black. She was calling herself mixed. And all the points that were made in that video where she was like, even her mother was like, I didn't want to be your white mother. I just wanted to be your mother. That was wrong, apparently. Kat saying, I want people to see me on my values, not the color of my skin or what I am. That was wrong, apparently. Her saying that, I didn't want to have to pick between a parent and having Alex say, well, you're an adult now. Like, those problems go away. That was incorrect. So when Gia said, oh, well, in my journey, it's important now. Well, I guess it's always been important. It's almost like what we said about Kat. You are a transformer. You can't be mixed and Black. I'm sorry. That's not how that works. Yeah. It's not. Genetics are genetics. If you went to the doctor's office right now and you said, well, I'm Black, well, then you've just eliminated yourself from your white side, that they would need to screen you for certain things. You could be predisposed because of that other parent. I've known this because I'm somebody who has a health condition and it's based on genetics. So, that is something that people really need to understand. This is not something that is just a phase. It's not a fad. It's just genetics. You would think this is common sense, the most critical thinking skill on the planet. And it's so weird that it's not, because people have decided to make it like almost like a mission of getting mixed people to identify the way they think they should identify, pressuring people to pick a parent. And I guess for me, it bothers me, because another thing that I know you probably caught was when she said, we don't have to fight anymore. And I'm like, what? Just because you're leaving the mixed camp and going to the Black camp does not mean the fight is over for you. Hello, BLM. That doesn't make any sense, but it tells me right there, she got so tired of explaining what she was, being asked what she was. You could tell that she was like, it's so relieving to be under the Black umbrella where I can just stop talking and have people stop asking questions. And I'm like, but they're still going to ask you because of how you look. You've really not, just because you made this YouTube video, you have not gotten your full Black card. I'm sorry. It's not how it's not how it works. It's not going to work in the Black community. I can show you other YouTube videos where they will tell you that you are not Black because you are mixed. So this is a very problematic video for me.
And I think just kind of linking to what you were saying about Kat and also this video, one thing that, like I said, as much as I won't tell another mixed race person or anyone how to identify, it's your life, your journey. One thing that does get me in my feelings, though, is that there is, depending on the sort of videos you make, a social responsibility you have in terms of the things you're putting out there. And that's why the Kat episode, the Rose Tinted Glasses episode, and also some of the things that she was saying in this YouTube video rubbed me the wrong way, because as a mixed race person, we can look at that and say, okay, that's your journey. I respect that. Not the same as mine. Do you, boo-boo kind of thing. However, as a non-mixed person, or maybe someone who is genuinely confused about being mixed, they might see it and think, oh, so that's how it should be. And I think that's one reason I'm so passionate about making videos, because honestly, I don't have to make videos about being mixed race and about sort of claiming mixed race and saying it should be its own group of kind of fighting the good fight. And sometimes it can get draining, like having to sort of justify why you're saying it, especially when people comment things like, well, no one cares, and and I'm like, well, people do care, because otherwise you wouldn't have commented that and things like that. But there was one comment on one of the videos we made that really summarized why I think it's so important that we have mixed content creators and we have true mixed representation in media. And it was a person who was pregnant, or is pregnant, with a mixed race baby. And they were saying they wanted to learn what it's going to be like for the child. So they really enjoyed watching our videos because we gave like that sort of things to look out for, things that we go through and how to identify.
Insight,
and it was when I saw that, I'm like, that's why we do it. Because if we didn't make these sort of videos and we didn't say, hey, it's okay to say you're mixed race, you don't have to pick, people could see, for example, Kat in the bold type and think, well, she thought being mixed race was right, but it's wrong, that's why she's changed her mind, so therefore I'm going to tell my child they can't be mixed. They have to be Black, or they have to be whatever their mix might be. And that really does annoy me, because it causes the identity crisis that a lot of people go through. And it gets me in my feelings.
Yeah, you're right. It causes imposter syndrome. As mixed people, we feel like we should be able to identify with every part of ourselves. But you have to understand that in the grand scheme of things, especially on our, like with me and Victoria, because we have Black, our other part is Black. We are not going to have the same struggles. Like even Victoria, it can pass for a lot of things. When you're passing, it is difficult to say that you understand a struggle. Like, honestly, if we were to make videos and just randomly say, oh, I'm Polynesian. If I, like right now, if I said I'm Polynesian, I would not have anyone bat an eye. Mm-hmm. Even though I don't feel like I look Polynesian, I don't feel like I look Latina or Hispanic. I don't think I look Asian. I don't think any of the things that people think that I am. I don't think I look that way. But I can say it. And nobody would bat an eye. Just like Victoria, if you like right now, you're like, oh, I'm not any of that. I'm just Puerto Rican. No one would say a word. Because you said you were Puerto Rican. Who's not? You know what I mean? It's like I will say we have that entitlement where we are able to pass for other things. This is not applicable for every mixed person. Some people are more white passing, some people are more Black passing or Asian passing or whatever your other mix is. But when you're ambiguous and you can pass for a lot of different things, you do have that entitlement. But at the same time, I feel like you have a responsibility to yourself before everybody else to be proud of who you are. And I'm proud of all my sides. I'm not going to let anybody tell me that I have to denounce a part of myself to make them, feel comfortable, to make their social construct make sense to them, that label make sense to them. You don't live in my house. When you're telling me that I have to do this, you're telling me I have to sit around the other parent during holidays and meals and basically say, you don't matter.
Yeah.
And so I don't get why that is such a hard concept for people to fully understand, except for the one thing me and Victoria have been saying since we started our videos together. We don't exist. That's what it comes down to. When you're mixed, you don't exist. It's why Hollywood pulls half of us apart. Like they take a person that's mixed and they just take part of you out. And it's just like, it doesn't matter. It happens in every genre of every form of Hollywood. Radio, it happens in radio. It happens in movies, TV series, books, comic books. It is insane how a mixed person's identity does not matter. Everybody else has representation, but when you are mixed and you say you're mixed, you're entitled. Why are you whining? Just pick a side. It's to me, it's crazy. So she did nothing to help our cause, but set us back. And that's how I feel about that. I really do. All right. So our next topic, because we're on the train. We can't get off now. So the Into the Spider-Verse 2 trailer came out a week or two ago. And I did not know this was happening until it was brought to my attention. There has been some controversy surrounding Miles Morales' hair type. Now, to be fair, I will say it does look different from the first movie. But a lot of people have been in their feelings because they're like, Miles Morales, he's Black. And now you made his hair more, you went from 4A to 4B curl pattern to more like a 3B, 3C. How could you do this? Blah, blah, blah. That is an artist problem. It's an artist continuity problem. But the problem that I'm having is that the Twitter debates and the TikTok debates, everyone's like, well, he's Black. He's not Black. He's Afro-Latino. He's mixed, which means his hair pattern and texture could have come out a variety of ways. To be fair, just because you're Black does not mean you have to have 4A, 4B, or 4C hair. There's nothing wrong with that. I'm just saying your hair pattern could come out any type of way. So why people are so focused on this, it's like you're looking for reasons now to be mad. This is what I'm talking about, the extremist stuff. You cannot separate this man's identity. But what we'll do is we're going to look at a really quick TikTok video.
My Lord. Y'all, he Black.
Miles is Black.
This is completely false. For context, a group of people are mad at the hair change of Miles Morales in the new Spider-Verse movie. One thing I've always disliked about Miles Morales is his design is kind of bland in the comics and it doesn't represent him, his opinions, or his ideology. Miles is half Black and Hispanic, meaning he's of Mestizo, Indigenous, or Taino descent. Miles' mother was literally his only supporter, and you guys want to erase his Hispanic heritage when it's literally one of the biggest parts of his character? Miles has never had longer hair in his source material, so it makes more sense genetically for his hair to look like this than this. Remember, Miles is black and Puerto Rican. He's not a black Puerto Rican. Genetics is not that hard to understand, guys.
I love that. Genetics is not that hard to understand, guys. It is not that hard. That just summarizes what we've been saying. For some people, it is. I mean, let's just be real. It is. It goes back to Zendaya. I remember when Zendaya first was cast, I believe it was Aaliyah. She was young. She got attacked because she was mixed. Mm-hmm. And, you know, for a while, she would do interviews and she would call herself mixed or biracial. And then after all the heat, she became black. And if you look at some of the younger Hollywood actresses that are mixed, they are doing the exact same thing. They are like, well, we're light-skinned blacks and we're taking roles from dark-skinned black women. And, you know, it's like, it became like this hunt for yourself. It's like your skin tone is the problem instead of Hollywood's racist casting choices being the problem. So the whole thing for me is crazy. And this whole thing with Miles Morales has always been a problem for me because throughout comic book history, I felt like people who are monoracial POCs are always angry at the wrong thing. They're mad because these characters don't reflect you, but they're not supposed to, because most of the characters you're getting upset or getting your feelings about are mixed. They are not supposed to represent you. The problem is we don't have our category. If we had a category, then they would separate us from monoracial POCs, even though we are still linked, obviously, genetically. You know, we still have pride in being the other POC sides, but separate us so that you can have the first Black Spider-Man. We can have a Shang-Chi that actually is fully Asian and not made fully Asian by the MCU, because a lot of people don't realize that both him and the Mandarin in the comics were both Eurasian. So, I mean, if you think about this, it would solve a lot of problems. So then what's the problem?
And I think for me, just linking to what you were saying, it's like, this is the issue, because if we have the mixed race people in these roles, then you continue to get the erasure of both groups, and then you continue to have people getting in their feelings over things they should never have been in their feelings about, and then that energy could be better spent directed to other things. And the thing that makes me laugh with this, and not just this, but other things similar to this, like, is it that deep that his hair has changed and you clearly haven't researched enough about the character itself to realize why that change was? Like, for example, if let's say it was like T'Challa that they suddenly changed the hair of, then I could understand, because as far as I know, he is 100% black character. I could get it. But then this is a mixed character anyway. So it's like, did you not research this? And then also I'm like, there are so many bigger things that we need to be talking about that isn't Miles's hair.
Exactly. Why don't you go to DC and Marvel and, Dark Horse, whatever comic book companies you follow, and say, why is it whenever you come out with a very notable character, a character that you're trying to appeal to people that have the same skin color and tone as me, why is it they can't have two, of the same parents? Why can't they be monoracial? Why can't Miles Morales, by the way, Morales, why couldn't he be in Miles, like just a generic American name, Anderson, Johnson, Robinson, whatever? Why did he have to be Afro-Latino? Because if you really go by this logic, you're telling me that Miles Morales is black and Zoe Saldana is not. Mm-hmm. And that is hypocrisy.
Yeah. And the thing that really gets me is this is a problem that only we care about. And that's why sometimes it feels like we're having to beat this drum so loud, because no one really cares. And especially like going back to, again, the bold type, I remember one of my friends who's not mixed recommended the show to me because they were like, oh yeah, the cat's in it, like she's mixed race, and like she talked about being mixed race, I know you'd relate to it. So I was like super excited. I was like, okay, cool, this is gonna be great. And then I watched it and it went, meow.
You're like, what am I relating to? That's not my journey.
But then I was like, but then I can't blame that person because they're not mixed and no one talks about being mixed. And then when you do see mixed, it's never, in my opinion, a good representation. And yeah, it's a lot.
It is a lot. And, you know, I feel like the Dr. Umar Johnson followers of the world have a hand in how we are perceived as well, because if you listen to some of the stuff that he spews, and we did a video like about him on my Approach the Nerd channel, he is very much against interracial marriage, very much against mixed kids, very much. He does not think we should be here. And when you have that type of hatred, of course it's going to leak out into other people. Like if you can't accept people in 2020 or 2022 now, 2022, that fall in love with somebody who's not the same ethnicity as you, then you're behind the times anyway. You're still struggling in the 50s. You're, you know, and like I said, in America, I get the history of trauma from racism, and I know that there's systemic racism. I live in this country. I understand it. I am a dual national, and sometimes the systemic racism and obviously homophobia, which also affects my life, is so strong. I feel like jumping ship. Not saying that the UK doesn't have racism and homophobia, but I just feel like at least I might just get a frown or whatever, and I won't blatantly be attacked for how I look, how I identify, and who I love, like I will here in the States. And that's real talk. It's just how I feel. And I live in the South, so I have a front row seat at how bad things are. Yeah. But it's just crazy to me that the mixed struggle only gets talked about by mixed people because nobody else cares. And to be fair, I guess they don't understand, because if you're not in an interracial, you're not product of an interracial family, not in an interracial family, you don't get it. My heart goes out to people that are monoracial who are adopted by interracial couples. Because even though you're not mixed, you still have to go through that whole, oh, your mom's white, or your dad's white, or your mom's black, your dad's black. You know, why can't they match? You know, and then you're going through this whole life, your whole life having this like guilt that you love one of your parents that you probably, in society standpoint, shouldn't even be around. You know, and it's just something that I think about for people who aren't even mixed or who are in interracial families. It's such a broad problem. It's just a problem. And I mean, honestly, guys, when we tell you this, again, this is something I'm going to say because it's truth, and it may make some people upset, but I mean, when you can pass, it is so easy to pass and just run away from this problem, which, by the way, mixed women who are light-skinned, no matter what version of light you are, as long as you're light-skinned, you can pass for any Latina, any Hispanic character, and you will be cast. And nobody will say it's cultural appropriation. Nobody will say anything. The only thing I have learned personally is that you cannot be a Black character when you are mixed, because then you will be canceled. But any other minority, if you can pass for it, nobody blinks an eye. They do not blink an eye. So that's something else I don't understand. I have a lot of question marks about. So if anybody in the comment section would like to know why I could go ahead and pass for Asian, you know, Indian, I know I'm part indigenous, but I'm like actually the country of India, Polynesian, all these things people have been telling me that I am in my comment section over at Approach the Nerd, Hawaiian, Eskimo, like, why is it okay for me to take these people's culture away from them and pretend to be them? And nobody cares? But the moment I say I'm completely Black, I'm canceled. Please explain that to me as a mixed person, even though I am part Black and have a right to say that I am Black. I'm just saying. I'm just saying. So yeah, we guys. The struggle is real.
It is.
So overall thoughts on Gia and Miles?
Overall, I would say, don't let someone else dictate your journey. I think be proud to be mixed. I think we have bigger fish to fry than Miles's hair. I want more and better representation of mixed and make it louder and prouder so that it's no longer questioned. It'll be like, oh yeah, Miles is mixed, cool. It's not, oh yeah, he's Black, that's the default. Like, I wish the default for a mixed person was mixed instead of like their dominant gene or whatever they look like the most. And I'm very proud to be mixed, and I'll keep going on about it.
Well, you should. Yeah, I agree with everything you just said. And plus, please don't come to my house with a genetics test, because that's kind of how I feel when you're trying to tell me what I am. I'm like, just stop. There is a lane that you can drive in, and it is yours, and you just need to stay in that lane, and then stay out of other people's lanes. And if people learn to stay out of other people's lanes, especially if people are not hurting anybody else, they're not, doing anything that affects anybody else's lives in a negative way, they're just living their own life. What is the problem?
Exactly.
So yeah, that is it in a nutshell. So again, Victoria, thank you for being on my channel. The first video of this channel, 2022. We're going to have more mixed content coming your way. Again, this is a dedicated channel. So you can find some of our earlier videos over at Victoria Rain's video. Again, our YouTube channel, it is linked below. And also on my Approach to Nerd, you'll see it under the section called What I Think. So check those videos out if you want to see how we interact, if you haven't figured it out already. But yeah, we will be back again with a brand new video. So be on the lookout. And yeah, have a good belated New Year's, and hope 2022 is the year of you. Bye, guys.